Alright, hi everyone. Today we're gonna do some problems together. So think of it as practice problems. All of these problems are posted on Canvas. So these are the problems. And then the part top here are the equations as well as some information that are relevant for this practice problem. So we will try to do number 1, number 5, number 9, and number 12. Alright, let's get started with number 1. For number 1, you're given the concentration of H+, which is 1.0 times 10 to the power of negative 7 molar. Now keep in mind that there are two sig fig here. The sig figs will be translated to the decimal digits for the pH and POH later. So from this information, you're being asked to find the pH, POH, OH minus, and to figure out if the solution is acidic, basic, or neutral. Alright, let's get started. So for this type of problems, right, if you're given one known and you're being asked for multiple unknowns, doesn't really matter if you solve for OH first and then move on to solving the pH or the POH, or you solve for pH first and then you find the POH and then lastly you find the concentration of OH negative. It doesn't really matter. So it is up to you which unknown you would like to solve first. For me, I will attempt solving for pH. So for pH, you will use this equation here. pH equals negative log of the concentration of H+, which is negative log of 1.0 times 10 to the negative 7. If you enter into the calculator, you should get 7. Now, keep in mind that you have 2 sig fig for the concentration. This 2 sig fig will be translated to 2 decimal digits for the pH and POH. Okay? So this is your answer for the pH. For the POH, you will be using this equation. pH equal POH. pH plus POH equals 14. Now if you solve for POH, you will get 14 minus pH, or 14 minus 7.00. You should get 7.00. Alright, so you have the pH, you solve for POH, now finding OH negative. So for that, you will be using the ion product constant equation. So Kw equals H plus times OH negative equals 1 times 10 to the power of negative 14. And you will be solving for OH negative equals 1 times 10 to the power of negative 14 divided by the concentration of the H plus equals 1 times 10 to the negative 4 power of negative 14 divided by information given to you, 1.0 times 10 to the negative the power of negative 7. So now you should get 1.0 times 10 to the negative 7. Okay, so this is concentration of OH negative. So based on the given sig fig, or from the concentration of the H plus, you should stick with the theme of 2 sig figs. Same thing here, the OH negative has 2 sig fig. Do we see that? Alright, so we already solved for pH, POH, OH negative, and then now you're figuring out the acidic, if the solution is acidic, basic, or neutral. So for this one, I will draw your attention to this table here. This is the summary of how to figure out if a solution is acidic, neutral, or basic. There are two methods. The first method is by comparing the concentration of the OH and the H. So if I look at the concentration of the OH and the H, they are essentially the same, right? They're both 1.0 times 10 to the power of -7. And because this is the same, therefore the solution is neutral. The second method is by looking at the pH scale. So for this solution, we have pH equals 7. Yeah? Now what we mean by pH scale is, let's say if you have this scale and in the middle you have 7, this is what we call as pH scale, right? At 7, the solution is neutral because there's the same amount of the H plus with the same amount of the OH negative, right? Now, if you have pH over 7 or greater than 7, this is basic. If you have pH less than 7, this is acidic. Yeah? So this is the pH scale that most people use in the lab or in math calculation, such as the problems that we have here. Let me zoom out. Ooh. So this is number 1. Let's move on to number 5. Alright, so we already finished number 1. Let's do number 5. For number 5, the information that's given to you is the concentration of the OH negative. It is 1.5 times 10 to the power of -3. If you look here, this is also 2 sig figs, right? Now you are being asked to find the pH, pOH, the concentration of H plus, and to figure out if the solution is acidic, basic, or neutral. Alright, so in my opinion, it is the easiest to start with pOH. So pOH is basically a negative log of concentration of OH negative. So here you will just plug into your calculator negative log of 1.5 times 10 to the power of -3. So if I do that in real time, you will get 2.82. Again, so 2 sig figs from the concentration will be translated to 2 decimal digits in the pH and the pOH. So pOH is 2.82. pH will be, you can find pH by this equation, pH plus pOH equals 14. So pH equals 14 minus pOH. 14 minus 2.82, you should get 11.18. Okay, so this is your pH. So you have pOH and pH. pOH and pH is done. Now, once you have the pH, right, you can decide if the solution, you can figure out if the solution is acidic, basic, or neutral. So pH is actually greater than 7. Therefore, the solution is basic. Okay, that's done. We will move on to figuring out the H plus, concentration of H plus. So there are 2 methods for this. So method 1 is by using this equation, H plus equals 10 to the power of negative pH. So 10 to the negative 11.18, right? So if you enter this into your calculator, you should get 6.61 times 10 to the negative 12, right? Now sticking with the 2 sig fig rule, this should be 6.6 molar. Okay, method 2 is by using the ion product constant. So H plus times OH negative equals 1 times 10 to the power of negative 14. So isolate or solve for H plus equals 1 times 10 to the negative power of negative 14 divided by OH concentration, which will be 1 times 10 to the power of negative 14 divided by 1.5 times 10 to the power of negative 3. You should get 6.7 times 10 to the negative 12 molar. Yeah, so these two are very similar. Well, there's a little bit of difference in the decimal digits, but that's because we round up the pH, right? So it is up to you which way you use to calculate the H concentration of the H plus, but you should get something similar. Okay, so this is your answer, and solution is basic. All right, so that is for number 5. Let's move on to number 9. Okay, so the next problem that we're gonna try is number 9. So the information that's given to you from problem number 9 is the pH. So pH equals 7.40. Now keep in mind that there are 2 decimal digits. This will be carried over to the 2 significant figures, right? For the concentration results that we will find later on. So for number 9, you are being asked to find pOH, the concentration of the H, concentration of the OH, and to figure out if the solution is acidic, basic, or neutral. Okay, so again, there's no one correct way to start figuring out the unknowns. Let's attempt, for at least for this problem, I will start with finding the concentration of H plus. So concentration of H plus can be found by this equation, 10 to the negative pH, right? So this will be 10 to the negative 7.40, which will be 3.98 times 10 to the power of negative 8 molar. Okay, now because there are 2 decimal digits, so we need to present the concentration values with 2 sig figs. So this will be 4.0. Basically you round it up, right? This will be the final answer. So you found the concentration of H plus. Now for the pOH, you will use this equation. So pOH equals 14 minus pH equals 14 minus 7.4. You should get 6.60. Alright, so you already found this one too. And then the next is using finding the OH negative. So again, there are 2 ways of finding or solving for the concentration of OH negative. Either you use the KW equals H times OH equals 1 times 10 to the power of negative 14, or you just take OH equals 10 to the power of negative pOH. So let's do method 1 by solving for the concentration of OH. Concentration of OH equals 1 times 10 to the power of negative 14 divided by the H, which is you already found here, right? 4.0 times 10 to the negative 8. So this will be 2.5 times 10 to the negative 7 molar. Okay, or method 2, you can use the OH equals 10 to the power of negative POH, which will be 10 to the power of negative 6.60. You should get also 2.5 times 10 to the negative power of negative 7 molar. Okay. And lastly, how do you decide if it is acidic, basic, or neutral? You look at the pH. The pH here is actually greater than 7, so therefore the solution is basic. Okay, so there you go, number 9. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can look at the entire thing. Moving on to number 12. For number 12, you're given the POH value, which is 5.0, and you're being asked to find the pH, the H, the OH, and to figure out if the solution is acidic, basic, or neutral. First thing first, so pH, at least for me, it will be easier to find the pH by using this equation, solving for pH, 14 minus POH, which will be 14 minus 5.0, you should get 9.0. Okay, so this is done. Moving on to the concentration of the H+. The H+ is basically 10 to the power of negative pH. So this will be 10 to the power of negative 9.0. Now, going back to the known, right? Here you have 1 decimal digits, which means that you will have 1 sig fig in the concentration. Okay? So this you will be 1 times 10 to the power of negative 9 molar. This will be your answer. So for the OH, there are 2 methods. Either you use the OH negative equals 10 to the power of negative POH, or use the ion product constant, right? So here you will get 10 to the power of negative 5.0. You should get 1 times 10 to the negative power of negative 5 molar. This will be your answer. Or if you want to use the second method, which is 1 times 10 to the power of negative 14 divided by the H plus, this also works. Divided by 1 times 10 to the negative 9, you should get 1 times 10 to the negative 5 power of negative 5 molar. Okay, either or, it's the same. Now, how do you figure out the solution, if the solution is acidic, basic, or neutral? You can use the pH scale. So pH is actually larger than 7, therefore the solution is basic. Okay, that's number 12. That's the last problem. So there are 3, 6, 6, about 10 more problems in the table here that you should Try to do number 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 13, 14. Try to do all of them and let me know if you have any question.